And then one other thing I want to talk about the soundtrack of the movie, because you actually sold the soundtrack. But when I'm listening towards the end, I'm like, is that Alanis Morissette? I'm like, how did they get Alanis Morissette for this? How did you get Alanis to get the rights to that movie?
So amazing. Thank you, Alanis. She had given me a song of hers in one of my prior films. Mm-hmm. And I'd written to her, and, she was like, I'm not really sure how you see that being used, but, she gave it to me anyway, and I used it. And I think in the end, it just worked so perfectly. And with this, I just remember I was going on walks and listening to all kinds of music that would spark something for the movie. And that song still is so beautiful.
I remember when it came out.
It's so beautiful. Song. And she is so, deeply attuned to these teachings. And, it's in all of her music. I mean, she is like a teacher in her own right. And I think she's actually teaching, spiritual, giving conferences and she's a spiritual teacher in her own right. So I think that she understood the connection with the film. She was just generous.
Mm-hmm. And but you just wrote a letter. Originally, you just wrote a letter to her and said, "Hey."
Wrote a letter and little persistence.
We also got a number one.
It doesn't just happen like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, and then we also got a number one hit single from George Harrison. Right. Olivia Harrison, was generous enough to give us the use of George's song, and that's kind of a 1-2 punch at the end of the film, which is in Still. She's kind of singing from the point of view of God, singing down to humanity, which is, I love you still, no matter what you do, no matter all these things you mess up, I love you still. Mm-hmm. So here's God singing down to humans. And then, we go, our end credits, we have this exalted, give me love, give me peace on earth, man singing up to God, so beautiful, those two songs back to back.
Yeah, and Still also has the metaphor of stillness, in all of it too. So it's the persistence and the perseverance of that sort of self-realization, but it's also just, you find it in stillness, So, and it's funny, now that you mention it, I realized that I actually kind of stalked her. I knew she was, I'm remembering now
at
that
Wisdom 2.0 at the conference
where we were giving away those autobiographies, she was one of the speakers. And so I, through 6 Degrees of Separation, had a connection through my friend Nell to Alanis. And, Nell was like giving her the it was like a little connected tissue to her at Wisdom 2.0, where, she texted me and said, come say hi. I'm leaving now. She left from her thing. I had to catch her like in her limo on her way out just to say hello.
Nice.
But I think cinched the deal.
That's awesome.
Another thing about Still is that, one of the monastics who was part of the film team is actually, a kirtan singer, and he just loves music and is very steeped in traditional classical Indian music. And he pointed out the fact that song is actually in a traditional rag form. It is in a rag. I forgot the name of the rag, but she was clearly influenced by India.
Yeah.